It has been a long time, and we're back finally on the bench and finally making some YouTube videos. Want to send out some apologies. I'm sorry we have not been active a lot here lately. We've been living our lives and building transmissions. So, I'm going to do a quick recap of what we're doing and give you guys kind of an overview of what this video will be about and what the next video that follows after it will be about. This is a 4L60 out of a 02 Chevrolet Silverado 1500 four-wheel drive pickup. We can easily identify that it is 99 to 04 because of the neutral safety switch that's on the side of it. Also, one of the things that we are looking for is the type of input shaft that we have. This input shaft does not have a stub shaft sticking off the end with an O-ring. The O-ring is actually further down on the shaft. So we know that we are working with the right generation of transmission, and that's really, really important to this video. We are going to take this transmission apart using the tools that I have laid out here on the bench, and we are going to make a full video. We are going to use a Matco 1/2-inch air impact, a Snap-on 3/8 air impact, a 8mm Matco deep socket, 10mm Matco deep socket, 13mm Matco deep socket. We have a 3-inch extension with a TP50, which is really important to use a TP50 socket for the bell housing bolts. 1/2 to 3/8 adapter, flathead screwdriver, 2 different types of snap ring pliers. The first one we'll be using on the output shaft to get the small yellow snap ring off. These ones we are going to use on all the rest of the drums to get the return snap rings out. In this video, we're going to be highlighting taking the transmission apart, diagnosing what's actually wrong with this transmission, and then we're going to go to the computer and we are going to show you how to build a transmission on a budget. I know a lot of the videos that we make, we talk about using really high quality parts. I'm really, really particular about the quality of parts that I use. However, I understand that guys at home are trying to build transmissions do not have the biggest budget to build the best transmission that they can. Sometimes it's about doing what you have to do to survive and to get by and to keep your truck on the road as long as possible. We hope to show you how to build a transmission on a budget for a reasonable amount of money, and how to inspect the rest of the unit to go over to make sure that it does not have future failures that could have been prevented by just spending a few dollars. But first we have to get this unit tore down and dissect it, so that's where we're going to start. Once the transmission's out of the vehicle, you can do this a couple of different ways. Option A, you could stand your transmission on a couple of 2x4s. Make sure that your transmission is not stood on the output shaft that is protruding the outside of the extension housing. Very important. But it could be done on 2 2x4s. I have a nice, beautiful workbench. I like to utilize that. So we're going to start by getting our pan off, and then we're going to disconnect some solenoids and take the valve body off. Using a 13mm deep socket, we're going to take the pan off. Well, that's not good at all. The amount of metal in here says that there's definitely a problem inside of it. Get our filter removed. I can't work like this. Just because we're doing it on a budget doesn't mean I have to be dirty. Handy dandy screwdriver, and let's get our solenoids out. We're going to start by removing our solenoid and disconnecting the connector. I like to put the retaining clip back on the solenoid so I don't lose it. There's a million different ways that you can keep track of that retainer clip, but if you put it on there and you can remember where you put the solenoid, you won't lose the clip. Sometimes I forget where I put the solenoid. That's okay. Let's get the rest of this stuff unplugged. Get our pressure switch manifold unplugged, our shift solenoids unplugged, and get our EPC solenoid disconnected. The lockup solenoid is actually bolted into the transmission, so we're going to unbolt that. Pull our detent spring off, remove the 13 and get onto the 10. That screwdriver likes this screwdriver too much. Before I remove the valve body, one thing I want to discuss and make sure that everybody understands. There are 3 8mm bolts in this location. It is very important that these 3 8mm bolts go back in this location. If this bolt was installed in this part of the case, it would actually lock the gear train together. The reason being is these 3 bolts are longer than all of the 10s. Very important that they go back in that exact location. So take all our 10s out and move forward. This is the 1-2 accumulator body. I like to unbolt it and just set it to the side, and we will actually be removing the piston that is inside of here and the spring later on for building purposes. But for now, we'll just set it off to the side. Get our 8mm socket. Valve body out of the way. We have 3 8mm bolts right here. Need to be removed. And we can get our separator plate out of the way. Yay! It's really, really well lubricated in there. It's not the right color of lubricant, but it is very, very well lubricated. Anyway, back to what we're doing. We're going to get our 4th accumulator out of the case. Comes out like so. This is a really common area for concern in the 4L60 family because the accumulator will wear against the pin, or the pin itself will wear. And it will cause a leak in between this side of the piston and this side of the piston. The best way to remedy this is to put a Sonax pinless accumulator in it. However, there are several different options here. Option A would be to replace the accumulator with a brand new one and replace the pin. Option B is to plug the bottom of the case, which I am not a fan of. I don't like using that method. Option C is the pinless accumulators. So we'll cover the cost of which one would be best for this scenario, but right now we can very easily see that we have a lot of slop in the pin to the accumulator, so it needs to be changed. Get our check ball out of the case. I like to get my valve body out of the way at this point. We're not done with the valve body, but just get it out of the way. Time to remove the bell housing. Tool still fires. Ready for a race. Okay, I'm the only one that's ready for a race, but that's okay. I'll win. Let's take out some bell housing bolts. All my bolts. Before we get started on the inside of this, we are going to take a quick break, move some of this stuff around, get cleaned up a little bit, make a path for all the destruction to happen, and we'll be right back. So we've got the table a little bit more organized and a little bit better for us to take stuff apart. We're going to start at the top, work our way down, removing the lockup solenoid O-ring, the input shaft O-ring for the lockup clutch. And we're going to take out our pump bolts. The pump bolts on a 4L60 have a O-ring on the back side of them that always needs to be replaced during overhaul. In the later generation of 4L60s, they actually had problems with the pump O-rings leaking after overhaul. So always make sure that you replace them and that they are torqued correctly. That is very, very important on making sure that they don't leak. Get our hammer, my favorite screwdriver to beat a pump out with. You can buy a pump puller and hook the pump puller to the stator tube and press off of the input shaft, or they make ones that hook on as a C and pull up against it. In the 4L60s, I like to use a flathead screwdriver up against the side of the reverse input drum and the back of the pump, and simply tap the input shaft while lifting, and works really well. Leave our oil pump to the side. Gonna reach in and unhook the band from the anchor. See if we can get it to spread apart here, like so. And then we can pull our input shaft with everything still attached. We're going to remove our intermediate band. This is a common area for wear, is on the back of the band lug where the anchor pin rides. It will actually egg shape this lug. Let's see if we can't get that anchor pin out. This anchor rides inside of the band like such. You can see how this moves side to side. It's because this anchor hole is actually egg shaped from wearing against the anchor pin. So always replace the band.
Looks like transmission parts in there. You are right.
Grab our blue handled snap ring pliers. Get a hold of the yellow snap ring. The shaft may fall out. May. If I can get the snap ring off of it.
Come here, snap ring. Pickles.
Oh, take a of those off. Grab a hold of the forward planetary. I'm just gonna set all the parts out to the side and then we'll do some examination. Ew, that does not look good. Get our sun gear out. Pull the snap ring for the center support. And now the center support. The method I like to use is lay the transmission down and tap on the shaft. That one is really sweet. Get that turkey out of there. Now, pull our anti-clunk spring out, and we can disassemble the rest of this and see what we've actually got to work with. We've got all of our guts out, well, the ones that are super important to us. We are still going to be removing the snap ring that holds the low retainer and return spring on. And we are going to be removing our 2-4 servo. So first let's get the servo out, and then I'll take the low clutch retainer out after we get everything else done. I like to tap on the pin, just real gently. Get to our blue O-ring. Come here, blue O-ring. If it cuts in half, that is A-okay. Pull the O-ring out, and then the servo cover comes off. And we have a stock 553 servo. Leave all that together. Our sun shell, the best way to examine the sun shell is to actually look at the back of the teeth, but I'm not going to go examination crazy because I refuse to reuse a sun shell. This is not an optional part. This is not a part that I will say, ah man, we're building it on a budget. Doesn't matter. Always replace the sun shell. So set that to the side. We're going to examine our low planetary. I'm going to start at the back. We're going backwards this time. Why not? Never hurts to work from the back to the front. We're going to look at our low planetary. We're going to check the pinion pins to make sure that there is no rocking on the pinion gears themselves. And then we're going to use 2 fingers to reach in and feel the bearing in the bottom of the planetary to make sure that it doesn't have any roughness to it. If it does, then it needs to be replaced. So planetary feels okay, we'll use it. Our low retainer has the low sprag inside of it. I'm checking for spring tension on the roller clutches to make sure that each return spring works the way it's supposed to. Typically, I would replace this part because this is a wear item, but we're helping a guy out. We're building it on a budget. We're going to reuse this low clutch. The friction discs, I am not giving an option. They have to be replaced no matter what. I don't care what the mileage is, replace the friction disc. The steel clutch, however, does not appear to be burnt. There's no sign of heat checking. There's no sign of it skipping across the clutch surface. And as long as all of them appear to be in good shape, we are going to tumble these steels or recondition them or just clean them. And we're going to reuse them. Our sun gear appears to be in good shape. There's no break. There are no broken teeth on the side of the sun gear. We are going to put a new sun gear bushing in because that is always a necessity on a 4L60. Our forward planet, we are going to inspect the same way. Going to check for play in the side of the pinion. We are also going to look for brittling of the pinion gear itself. This planetary, you can actually see a little bit of it right down in the crevice there, is starting to lose the hardened surface off of the planetary tooth. So this planetary needs to be replaced. Moving on. Get our input drum apart. This is what houses all of the goodies. Get our top snap ring removed. Come here, snap ring. Those do not look very good. They're not supposed to be cone shaped. So we will be replacing all of our 3/4 clutches and steels and pressure plates because they have to be replaced. Our 3/4 load springs appear to still have tension against the top of the load spring, so we will not be replacing those. We have to replace the lower plate. Get our forward clutch snap ring out. Overrun clutches will get replaced. All of the forward clutches will get replaced, as well as the steels. See the hot spot right there in the steels? They're going to have to be replaced. Let's look at our input sprag. It is a single cage sprag, which is a automatic no bueno. Have to be replaced. Get into our reverse input drum. We're going to check the side of the input drum for warp. Looking at the side of it, you can see that there is no clearance on that gauge. So our drum is in good shape. That's a good sign. Let's get our pistons or our clutches out of here. Wow, those clutches look really good. Definitely need to put new clutches in, but not in bad shape. Let's take a look inside of our pump and we'll make a parts list. Pump pump surface feels really nice. Does not appear to have major grooves cut in it. A lot of hair. Whew. Definitely needs a pump. We can see the major amount of scoring on the outside. We're going to have to replace the pump rotor and slide. And the inside of the pump bucket actually feels like it's in pretty good shape. So we're going to get a notepad out, get a list made here, and get on the computer, see if we can't source some parts. So we'll be right back. So what we've done is built a parts list off of what we know is bad and what we know is going to be bad in the future. And I know we are building on a budget, but there are certain corners that cannot be cut to build a reliable transmission. So the parts that I am ordering are the best bang for their buck, and ultimately the only way I see getting this transmission back in a good working state that it is going to live a healthy, long life. I don't want to do a build on a budget that's going to last 2 weeks. We want to build on a budget that's going to last 10 years, that somebody's actually going to get some use out of. So we're going to take a look at it. We've got a remanufactured solenoid kit for $105. We've got a bushing kit for $23. All 3 of the accumulator pistons with the Sonax pinless accumulators for $43. We've got a Beast sun shell for $46. Pump rotor and slide kit for $48. A front planetary with input sprag for $169. Transgo shift kit for $46. And then a master level 2 rebuild kit, which includes the clutches and steels and the band and the pistons, for $255, with a total of $740.63 in parts. So we're going to order these parts right now, and as soon as they get in, we're going to make a build video.